everyone, it's Alyssa from Planet Alyssa. I am here with a video for those of you that sell on Amazon via Amazon FBA or are looking into getting started with that. And this video is about how to prep items before sending them into the Amazon warehouses. I've had a lot of requests, different questions about how to prep specific types of items or what I do before I send different things in. So I figured I would just make a single video and show you different stuff. Now, a lot of items you can send in without really any kind of prep at all, but there are some items where you gotta put a little more effort into it. Now, this video is for those of you that are labeling the products yourself as opposed to having Amazon do labels. I know for some items you can have Amazon label them for a fee. I don't do that, so I really can't tell you too much about how that works. I label everything myself. It works out to be a little bit cheaper. It also, I feel more secure about it because I know, that everything has my barcode on it and it's the item that I sent in, as opposed to getting mixed with other stuff in an Amazon warehouse and you don't know what's going on there. But anyway, so this is for those of you that are, labeling items yourself. So the first thing, and you're going to have to do this for all your items, is make sure that it has your barcode label on it. You can either print these out in sheets of 30, the 30 up labels, or, and using a laser printer, or if you have a label printer, like a Dymo label printer, you can print the labels individually. I used to do the 30 up labels. As I continued to grow and was sending in more stuff, it made more sense to switch to using the Dymo printer and just printing the labels as I add the items to my Amazon order. I can print the labels out and then just label them right there. I use List Label Ship to print labels because I use a Mac, so that's the only way I can print them individually as I add them to the order. It's like $5 a month and totally worth it. But anyway, the first thing you have to do is actually put your barcode label on the product. Most likely you're going to be putting it over the barcode that's already printed on a box. So, you're going to cover that up with your barcode label. And it is very important to have only the one barcode showing on a product because you don't want to confuse them at the Amazon warehouse and have them scan the wrong barcode and, things can happen and go wrong, whatever. They deal with a lot of stuff every day. You want to make their job as easy as possible. So, you're going to put your label over the barcode. If there's still exposed barcode, if there's a second barcode on an item, which can happen sometimes, you're going to want to make sure that's covered up. And what you can just do is use a blank label for that. So, just grab a blank one and stick it on there. You are supposed to use removable labels for Amazon products. I know not everyone does because I've gotten stuff from Amazon that didn't have removable labels on it, but that is what you are expected to do as an FBA seller. The other thing that you need to do with all your products is make sure that you're removing the price stickers on the products. I think that goes without saying. I'm sure if you sell on eBay or Etsy or something, you're going to be taking the price stickers off when you get stuff from thrift stores and other places that label them with the sticker. But you want to do that with your Amazon things too. And depending on where you get stuff, it can be kind of annoying. I know some of the stores, they have stickers that they put on there, and I don't know, it's like they're super glued on there. They're really tough to get off sometimes, and you don't want to damage the item, but you do want to remove that price sticker. Occasionally you'll run into products that have printed right on the packaging the retail price. Per Amazon's terms, you are supposed to cover up any pricing information. You're not supposed to have any pricing information on your product. So again, if it's something like that, I would say just use a blank label if your barcode label doesn't cover it up. And, just make sure that all price information is removed or covered up in the case of those that are printed on products. And so when we talk about prep, what items do need prep? Well, it depends. Textile items, plush, that stuff is supposed to be bagged. And you'll notice when you're adding items to an Amazon order, they will actually give you recommended prep or required prep or whatever they call it. But it doesn't necessarily have all the items that need to be prepped. I'll be sending in 3 different stuffed animals, say, from the same line. One of them will say, it needs to be bagged, and the other 2 doesn't say anything about it. But they're stuffed animals. They need to get bagged. All stuffed animals do. So you want to make sure anything that's got like fabric, like if you're sending clothes or, home products that are, exposed that aren't packaged up, you do need to stick those in bags. And then beyond that, you want to prepare your stuff to be in a warehouse setting and to be shipped. So anything that could, like, say, leak, or if it's like a lotion product or something, you're going to want to make sure it's all sealed up in some way or bagged up so that it doesn't leak on the other items in the box and doesn't leak at the Amazon warehouse. Other things you might want to do are products that come in these lovely packages. I don't know if you can tell. I mean, this is a cardboard package, but the item is it's open to the air. It's going to be sitting in an Amazon warehouse. There's going to be stuff touching it. It's going to get dust on it. So you want to do something to wrap these sort of items up. I use like cling wrap for it. But you can, bag it. You can, if you have shrink film and then the shrinking, tool, you can shrink wrap it. But you want to do something so that it's not just open to the air like that. Other things that maybe have parts that could get lost from it, like let's say you have a book that has like a map with it or some other supplemental material with it, that's maybe in a pocket in the back of the book or something like that. You're going to want to take steps to seal that up, whether it's, if you could seal up the pocket with a sealing label, that's fine. Otherwise you might need to bag it up so that the item, the supplemental material, doesn't get separated from the book. Things like used board games. I made a whole video about this. You can send used board games into Amazon. Just want to make sure that the box is sealed up, and I use just clear mailing labels for that. Pretty easy to do, but you could also bag things up if you prefer. Other thing I sell sometimes are book sets, and those are usually books in a slipcase box, so obviously they could slide right out of the box if I was just sending them in loose like that. So again, those need to be packaged up in either a box, or I use a lot of times just the cling wrap to wrap those up. Now, one thing to keep in mind when you are packaging up items to send to an Amazon warehouse is everything that's in that Amazon catalog, Amazon already has like the dimensions for it, the dimensions and weight, which are based on the original packaging that, the item came in, or should be based on that. Sometimes the Amazon catalog's a little bit wonky, but in an ideal world, that is what all the packaging information that Amazon has is based on. So keep that in mind if you are packaging up items to send to an Amazon warehouse. Don't go crazy with the packaging. It shouldn't become such a different shape as when it was originally in its package, or else there might be issues with the Amazon warehouse because they're expecting it to be a certain size and they're expecting it to fit in a certain area in the warehouse. And if you have something that's, well, if it's really big, you're going to get stuck with oversized charges, and it's also going to just create, havoc at the warehouse. So package things up, but don't go crazy with the packaging because you want to keep it as close to the original size as possible. One thing also to keep in mind, I didn't mention before what I said about bags. Amazon requires that your bags have suffocation warnings on them. That's, just by the laws that we have to follow. And so you can either buy bags that already have the suffocation warning printed on them, or you can buy labels that have a suffocation warning on them. I'll just show you both examples. Here's a bag that has the suffocation warning printed right on it. It's in 3 languages there. Really have my bases covered. Now this is just a loose bag. It's not a self-seal bag. It's up to you whether you want to buy, these kind of bags or self-seal bags. At first I was buying the self-seal ones, and they're great, but they're not that great because the seal is not that great. So I was finding I was taping them anyway. I'd use the seal and then put tape on there too because the seals had a tendency to open. And you pay more for the self-seal ones than you do for, bags like this. So I just started buying these ones. I do have a bag sealer, which I use to seal things up, but you could even tape them up. It really wouldn't be much different than the way I seal up the self-seal ones anyway. So it's up to you. I think I bought these. I have a whole bunch of these. So I think I actually got these from Uline back when Uline's really expensive. And you have to buy things in big quantities. And their shipping is expensive, really. Now I'm lucky in that, or I was lucky, in that I have a Uline not too far from here, so I would go over there and just pick stuff up at the Uline warehouse. Well, now they charge you to pick up stuff. I think it's like $25 just to go there and pick it up, which is ridiculous, and that kind of annoyed me. So I haven't gotten stuff from Uline in a while. What I'll do instead a lot of times is buy it on Amazon, and you can actually find Uline products on Amazon. I don't know if it's Uline selling it or different third-party sellers, but the nice thing about that too is you can get things in smaller quantities. Like, say you don't want 1,000 bags, you can maybe get like 100 or 150 or something more reasonable. So that's something to keep in mind. And I didn't show you these. These are just, example, you can buy stickers. These are labels in a roll. There's just a few of them that have the suffocation warning on them, and so you can put those on bags that don't already have a suffocation warning printed on them. Again, these I think are something that I picked up on Amazon. They're not too expensive. They've got like a whole roll of them, tons of them. I only have like certain bags, like the really big ones I use don't have a suffocation warning printed on them, so I just use these. And this is an example of the cling film I use. It's just like the stuff that you would use to, wrap up your leftovers. It's actually like a little bit stickier, I think, than that. And it's, there's a lot more of it. It comes on a big thing like this, and you have a handle. So it's a little bit easier to wrap things up. It's not food grade, so, I wouldn't use it on your food. But it's fine for wrapping up these things. And it's not much money. I think I might have picked this up at Staples, but you can get them on Amazon. You can get them at Staples. They're not too much money. I like the ones that do have a nice handle on them because they're a little easier to use. You can find some with cardboard handles too, I guess. I know I mentioned these. These are just, they're clear mailing seals. You can't really see them because they're clear, but they're round. They are made by Avery. I'm sure there's other makers that make them. But they work really good for like sealing up things like board games or, other things where you just need a seal to keep it closed. They are removable, so you can peel them off without really damaging the product in most cases. But then they're also not super sticky, so if it's something that's like a really shiny surface or like a plastic surface, they may not hold that well because they are removable. And speaking of removable, you're supposed to use removable labels, like I said. When I do, use stuff like the shrink, the cling wrap, or even like bags, you put the barcode label on the outside of the package. First off, you want to make sure that you don't have the original barcode showing through. Like if you have something bagged up, that you might be able to see the actual barcode on the package showing through. So you probably want to cover that up first before you stick it in the bag. Second thing to keep in mind was when you're putting this stuff on plastic, when you're putting on this or on the bag, when you're putting your label on, they don't always stick quite as well, so sometimes I use a little tape to make sure they're held on there. I would not put the tape over the barcode itself, so you may just want to put it like at the top of the label to hold it in place. I know someone who ordered like reading glasses or something like that, some small item that I guess was going to be bagged up, or I don't even know where it was, and she got something completely different. But what she got was in a bag, and what happened was that bag had 2 barcode labels on it. It had, what it actually was, and it had the reading glasses barcode on there. So obviously what happened is in the Amazon warehouse or in shipment or something like that, the barcode from the reading glasses came off and somehow got stuck to the other bag, and so she got the wrong item. So that is one thing to keep in mind when you're putting the labels on like a smooth plastic surface like that, where it could easily come off. And I'll show you a few examples of some items that I have prepped. Now this one is actually, this stuff I had sitting here in my office because I packed this all up and then I realized it was short 1 book. So I'm hoping I'll just come across that book at a thrift store at some point and be able to make this a complete set. But in the meantime, it's just sitting here. But as you can see, I wrapped this whole book set up with the, with the plastic, with the cling plastic. I have my barcode label on the bottom there. So it's all ready to go, but it's not ready to go because I need to add a book to it. But that's really all I do for like something like the book sets or whatever. And, well, I'll show you wrapping up an item with the plastic wrap. We'll wrap up this Spider-Man alarm clock. I've already removed all the price stickers from it. I haven't put my label on it yet, so we're going to use this. We need a pair of scissors too. So yeah, it's really easy to start. It doesn't like, it doesn't get sometimes like tape or something. It's tough to get it going again, but this is fine. And so we're just gonna like wrap it up like this. If you have like a breakable item, let's say you're sending maybe something ceramic or glass or something, which, I mean, it can be dicey to ship that sort of thing into Amazon, but if you are doing that, you probably want to use some bubble first and then put your, your cling film over that. But yeah, this is probably plenty. I just need to cut the end here. And, that's all. Just to kind of protect that from the dust and elements and whatnot. So as you can see, our barcode is kind of shining through there. Not my barcode, but the original package one. Here's the one, my label. So I'm going to put this over the top of that right there. And I'm probably going to put a little tape on there to make sure it's held in place. But I don't have the tape right here, so I'll do that in just a little bit. But anyway, it's not too much work, obviously, to do that. What did that take? A whole 30 seconds? And yeah, it's not really that hard. I would probably do the same thing like with one of these, lotion things and just wrap that up with the shrink wrap. You could also bag it up. It's no big deal. One thing you might run into if you're doing used items, like if you're doing thrift stores, garage sales, and so you have items that are outside their packages that you're going to send into Amazon as used items, how do you prep those? Because those can be tricky, and some of them you might just want to avoid because it's too much work. But in most cases, it's not going to be that big a deal. Now here's something that's a little bit bigger and more awkward than I would normally bother with. But it's just it's a toy. I don't know, Fisher Price doggy xylophone. I don't even know what it's called. But, I picked it up at a thrift store. It's in nice shape. It's all complete. It has all its parts. It's got a few dirt marks on it, but really not bad at all. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be sending this into Amazon as a used item. Now I took pictures of it, took a main picture of it, and also took pictures of the few dirt marks that are on it so that buyers can see that. When you are selling used items on Amazon, you can, note the condition, you can describe the condition, you can, specify what the condition is, good, very good, etc. And you can also include some photos of the item to give buyers an idea of what it looks like. You don't have to do this with books. I usually don't bother with photos unless it's something like, like there's a big stain on the cover or something. I want to make sure that buyers know about that, although I'd probably avoid picking that book up anyway. But yeah, so I don't usually bother with pictures like on the books, but something like this, I think people might want to see a picture of it, so I did take some pictures that I will put in my listing. And then as far as packing this up goes, now if I had a box that was pretty much exactly this size or that this would fit in nicely, I would probably, wrap this up in some bubble wrap and stick it in the box. Unfortunately, I don't really have a box that's really ideally sized for this. So what I'll probably do is wrap this in bubble wrap and then wrap it in some of that cling film and, send it in that way. It's going to be pretty well wrapped up. Nothing's going to happen to it. So I'm not really too worried about it. Now, if you are sticking items in a box, if you have a box to ship an item into, like let's say you have maybe a calculator, you have a small box that you're going to put this used calculator in. One thing you want to do, well, first of all, your barcode sticker is going to go on the outside of the box. And also on the outside of the box is you're going to put a label. It has to say that there's a couple of different ways you can word it, but it, sold as a set, do not separate is one way to word it, or, ready to ship. Do not open or something like that. I forget how it's worded, but if you go on Amazon, it'll specify how to, word the label. So you want to make sure you put that, if you're putting anything inside another box, like a cardboard box that's not the standard packaging material, you don't want an Amazon employee to accidentally open that up thinking, that he has to scan the stuff inside it. So if you put a label there, that'll clearly indicate that the package is being sold as a set. By the way, if you put any barcode label on the outside of a box, they're going to assume that it's sold, as a set and not open it. So, if you are shipping multiple things in a box that is supposed to be open, you put a barcode label on the outside, well, guess what? It's going to get shipped. All the multiple items are going to get shipped as one item. So be careful, because I've seen that happen too, to someone I know who ordered one item and wound up with 6 of them, because they were all in a box and there was the barcode label on the outside of the box. And so, that's how it got sent. Now, with some products like used books or, even new books, I usually don't do much in the way of prep. Like I said, if it's something that's got, parts that could come out, different supplemental materials, I will bag it up. If it's, in really delicate condition, maybe an older book and it's got like a fragile cover or something like that, then I might bag it up just to protect it. But in most cases, I'm going to ship in books exactly as they are. They're already in the packaging. That's how they're getting shipped from the publisher, in most cases, to bookstores and to Amazon, is just as they are. So you can put your, barcode label on the back of the book. If it's a hardcover book, it's probably going to have a dust jacket. If it's, a paperback, you can put it right on the cover there and send it in that way. I wouldn't, unless it's special circumstances, I wouldn't bother like bagging a book up. And hopefully when Amazon is shipping it out, they're packaging it well. It can be hit or miss how Amazon packages stuff when they send it out. And again, it's a book. It's not really a fragile item. It should be okay in the Amazon warehouse. Does stuff happen? Yes. If Amazon damages one of your items in the warehouse, you will get reimbursed for it. So, I wouldn't worry too much about that. If it gets damaged in transit, that's probably your responsibility in most cases. So, you want to make sure you're packing your boxes well when you're sending them to Amazon, and that anything that could break or spill or whatever is all packed up. So I don't know, that's all I can really think of that requires special packaging that I deal with on a regular basis. I might avoid buying items because I look at them and I'm like, well, you know what, it's going to require too much work to get them ready to send to the Amazon warehouse, and for the money I'm going to make on it, it's not worth it. Whereas if it's something really easy like a book, and I'm only going to make a few dollars on it, but it's just so easy to deal with, I might go for it. So it does affect how I buy things too, once you start thinking about that mindset of getting things ready for Amazon, and if it requires too much work, I say, it's not worth it to me. And everyone has their own, way of looking at it, and to some people, like, packaging it up, they actually think it's fun and they enjoy it, and me, I'd rather not have to deal with it. I have to be making a decent amount of money on an item to want to have to deal with that sort of thing. But anyway, I hope this helps you in some way, and hope it answers some of the questions people had about preparing stuff and sending it into an Amazon warehouse, and the different steps that I take. And yeah, I'd love to hear your thoughts, and if you have more questions, let me know, guys. I will see you all again soon. Happy selling, everyone.